story begins with a young girl named Eve who remembers the days when she lived with her father, Javier. He often told her that she resembled her sister, though Eve had no memory of ever having one. The only connection she had to that lost piece of her past was a small ballerina toy.
I come back.
One night, their home came under attack. Javier sensed the danger before it fully arrived and immediately engaged the intruders. He fought them off with the skill and discipline of a trained warrior while giving quiet instructions to Eve, who obeyed without a word. But despite his strength, the overwhelming number of enemies began to wear him down. Then the leader of the attackers appeared. He reminded Javier that their clan had once allowed him to marry an outsider and accused him of repaying that kindness with betrayal.
And now your wife is dead.
He blamed Javier for his wife's death and demanded to know where Eve was. Javier refused to give him anything. The leader then gave him a choice: load a single bullet into a gun and end his own life to spare his daughter, or kill the leader and watch them both die. Javier chose sacrifice, raising the gun toward himself, but Eve's sudden scream stopped him. That moment reignited his determination. He would not let these men take her. He launched back into the fight, and Eve herself picked up a weapon, firing a shot to protect her father. Together, they escaped outside. Javier activated a bomb, and the explosion destroyed nearly all of the attackers. But a bullet had already struck him, and though the blast claimed their enemies, Javier's wound proved fatal. Only the leader survived, while Javier's life slipped away. The narrative then moves forward to the present. A man named Winston Scott seeks out Eve. He tells her that Javier had dreamed of a free life for her, one that he could never live himself. With Javier gone, Winston offers to take her to her father's people. He brings her to the Ruska Roma, an organization that operates behind the facade of a theater. The director accepts her, and Winston departs after leaving her with a gold coin. Soon after, a woman named Nogi tells Eve that her father had once been part of the Ruska Roma as well. 12 years pass. Eve has grown into a ballerina, her back marked with a tattoo like Javier's. Training is grueling, blending ballet with combat, boxing, firearms, and every other form of fighting. Their purpose is to shape assassins. Eve struggles, often losing to the boys, but under Nogi's guidance, she learns to adapt. Stop letting her opponents dictate the fight and strike with the ferocity of a lioness. Eventually, she begins to win. One day, she notices her friend Tatiana has disappeared. When she asks the director about it, she learns that Tatiana was considered unworthy to remain in the Ruska Roma. Eve, however, is told that her stolen childhood has made her strong. The director then declares that her time has arrived. For her final trial, Eve is pitted against another girl who has been deemed expendable. Before them lie the pieces of a gun. The first to assemble it and fire would live. Eve completes hers quickly and kills her opponent. Later, a stranger arrives at the theater, John Wick. Eve sees him being cast out from the Ruska Roma. Curious, she approaches him, asking how to follow the path he has chosen. Wick tells her she has already taken her first steps, but she still has the chance to walk away. Before she can reflect on his words, Eve receives her first mission, protecting the daughter of a wealthy man. For her assignment, Eve was only supplied with rubber bullets.
Rubber bullets?
She made her way to a nightclub, where she spotted the girl she had been tasked to protect. But as soon as she saw her, others began closing in. The attackers seized the girl, and Eve stepped forward to block their path. Standing against a crowd of thugs on her own, they outnumbered her heavily. Their leader began dragging the girl away, but Eve fought her way through the men one at a time. When she finally reached him, she grabbed a hammer lying nearby and used it to battle him directly. Though she overpowered the man, she chose not to kill him. She rescued the girl, fulfilling her mission successfully. As a result, her tattoo within Ruska Roma was elevated to a higher rank. 2 months later, Eve had fully embraced the life of an assassin. She was carrying out contracts, eliminating targets, and honing her skills further. But then one day, a car ambushed her. Eve managed to kill the attackers, but noticed something chilling. One of the men bore the same mark on his hand as those who had murdered her father. She cut off his hand and brought it to the director, demanding to know what the symbol meant. The director told her that these people were ruthless, bound to an ancient pact with Ruska Roma. As long as the Roma didn't interfere with them, they wouldn't interfere in return. He warned her that pursuing them would lead only to disaster. Eve, however, ignored his warning. She went to the Continental Hotel to see Winston Scott. At the reception, her name was recognized, and she was sent straight to Winston, the manager.
Eve Macaro.
She explained that she had already been warned, but she needed the truth about the people with the mark. She even returned the gold coin he had once given her, pleading for answers. Winston revealed that they were a cult, killing for sport, and that one of them was currently staying in another Continental branch. His name was Daniel Pine. A $2 million bounty had been placed on him, and he was lodged in room 315. Armed with this information, Eve traveled to that hotel. Though the Continental was governed by its strict rule forbidding violence within its walls, bounty hunters had already gathered around Pine. A sniper even had him in sight. Eve moved from her own room toward Pine's. Before she could reach him, however, a young girl stepped into her path, Pine's daughter. The child asked if Eve had come to kill her father, just as Pine himself leveled a gun at Eve. It was then revealed that the Mark cult had surrounded the hotel. Their goal was to see Pine killed and his daughter taken. Downstairs, a woman doubled Pine's bounty, tempting the other hunters. The inflated reward led them to break the Continental's rule, exactly as the cult had planned. With the rules shattered, chaos erupted. Bounty hunters attacked, and Eve was forced to fight alongside Daniel. Seizing the opportunity, he tried to escape. What unfolded mirrored Eve's own past. Daniel and his daughter were now caught in the same nightmare she once faced with her father. Daniel begged her for help in protecting his child.
Please?
Eve agreed, taking the girl and moving to get her out, while Daniel stayed behind to hold off their pursuers. But tragedy struck. Daniel was killed by a bounty hunter in front of Eve's eyes. She herself was knocked unconscious. Meanwhile, a girl named Lena reported to her superior, known as the Chancellor, that another young girl had been seen with Daniel Pine and his daughter. When Eve regained awareness, she and other hunters were taken into custody by the hotel security. She protested that she had not broken any rules, insisting the attackers struck first.
Understood.
Security agreed and released her, but executed the other two hunters, then ordered Eve to leave the hotel immediately. Afterward, Eve went to a weapons dealer, where she purchased an array of firearms. But while she was still inspecting her new arsenal, an ambush suddenly descended upon her. Eve and the weapons dealer, Frank, tried to flee when the ambush struck. Grabbing grenades from the storeroom, she hurled them at her pursuers. In close combat, she dropped one of the attackers with her bare hands, using anything around her as a weapon. Frank soon realized the truth. These were the same marked people. With urgency, he passed Eve a location, admitting he wasn't certain, but it might lead her closer to them. Taking Frank's car, Eve drove into a mountainous region. From the moment she arrived, hidden eyes were already following her. Her phone rang. It was the director, furious. He reminded her that by chasing this vendetta, she was putting their entire family in danger, and demanded she return at once. Eve ignored him. Inside the place, she noticed ballerina dolls that brought back memories of her childhood. Suddenly, a man lunged at her. Eve broke his arm in the fight before shooting him dead. But the compound was crawling with cult members. Even the chef turned on her, whom she locked inside a refrigerator before being forced to fight wave after wave of fresh attackers. Eventually, the chef broke free, and Eve killed her as well. Elsewhere, a man named I reported her actions to the Chancellor. The Chancellor immediately gave the order to activate the protocols. Sirens wailed throughout the town. Children were rushed into hiding, while every adult emerged armed and ready. An entire community of trained killers mobilized to hunt Eve down. Outnumbered, she was eventually overpowered and captured. During her capture, Lena noticed the Ruska Roma tattoo on Eve's back. The truth surfaced. The young girl Ella was actually the Chancellor's granddaughter. Daniel Pine had been his son, attempting to protect Ella from him. Lena revealed this to the Chancellor, also exposing Eve as a Ruska Roma. The Chancellor confronted Eve, reminding her of the pact between his people and the Roma, that neither side would interfere in the other's affairs. Eve told him she wasn't acting for Ruska Roma at all. These people had killed her father, and tried to tear her from him. She had come for revenge. In that moment, the Chancellor finally recognized her. He turned to Lena and revealed the truth. Eve was her younger sister.
She's your sister.
Eve struck, lashing out at everyone in the room, and Lena pursued her, trying to reach her. Lena begged her to listen, telling her they were both born in that very place, and that Eve had now returned home. She explained their mother had belonged to the cult, but their father had been Ruska Roma. He had tried to protect Eve and keep her from the cult's grip. On that fateful day, the Chancellor had come to take her back. But attackers stormed their cabin, and the Chancellor had ordered both sisters killed.
Kill them.
Explosives were hurled into the cabin. Eve survived the blast, but Lena did not. With her final breath, Lena told Eve she had missed her. Grief and fury consumed Eve, and she turned on the attackers in a frenzy, cutting them down without mercy. She declared to the Chancellor that he would be next.
You're dead.
The Chancellor quickly contacted the director, warning him to restrain his assassin or risk a full-scale war. The director responded coldly. Eve was no longer acting under their authority. He wanted no war, but he offered a compromise. He could send someone to stop her, and until then, the Chancellor's people were to hold back. The Chancellor agreed, giving them until midnight. The director then dispatched John Wick to bring Eve down. Meanwhile, the Chancellor decreed that no one in his city was to act against her until the deadline. Wick entered the city and confronted Eve directly. He told her she could still walk away, but she refused. She opened fire on him. Calm and composed, John countered her every move. It became clear he was the stronger of the two, but he held back. His intent was not to kill, but to make her understand. Pointing his weapon at her, he told her to leave. Eve refused, declaring she needed to finish what she had begun because the Chancellor had killed her father.
He killed my father.
Wick finally relented, giving her a deadline. She had until midnight. Afterward, Eve set her sights on the Chancellor, determined to take him down. She stealthily approached a man, attaching a grenade to his face before setting it off. The explosion sent shockwaves through the city, and the Chancellor, upon hearing the news, immediately ordered her death. Without hesitation, the entire city mobilized to hunt her down. One woman against an entire army of heavily armed, well-trained soldiers. Eve infiltrated the city's weapons storage, arming herself with whatever she could find. As she prepared for the next wave, the soldiers closed in on her. She set off a trap that obliterated the incoming forces in one swift explosion. With a flamethrower in hand, Eve turned the remaining soldiers into nothing more than ash. But she wasn't alone for long. Dex, another warrior equipped with his own flamethrower, entered the fray. The two of them engaged in an intense battle, flames clashing as they attempted to outmaneuver each other. But then more enemies arrived, and Eve was forced to switch tactics, using both her guns and the flamethrower to hold them off. In the chaos, Dex launched a surprise attack, and the entire area was soon engulfed in flames. The fight escalated to hand-to-hand combat, and Dex proved to be stronger. Eve, struggling to keep up, was forced to retreat. She dashed out of the armory only to find more of the Chancellor's forces waiting for her in the streets. She fought back with fiery determination, burning anyone who crossed her path. Meanwhile, inside the Chancellor's safe house, his men urged him to leave. Despite the growing danger, the Chancellor stubbornly refused. "In 200 years, no leader of ours has ever left this place," he declared. However, as the situation spiraled out of control, he finally decided to flee with his granddaughter. Outside, Eve's flamethrower ran dry. But just as she thought she was out of options, Dex appeared with a fresh tank of fuel. Their fiery battle resumed, but this time Eve managed to find a nearby water pipe attached to a fire extinguisher. She used it to douse the flames, and the resulting cloud of steam sent both of them tumbling to the ground. As Dex aimed his flamethrower at her, a shot rang out, and Dex fell, killed by a well-placed bullet from above. It was nearly midnight. If Eve didn't eliminate the Chancellor before the clock struck 12, John Wick would be forced to finish the job himself. But just as Eve neared the Chancellor's location, John Wick found himself surrounded by a group of attackers. He fought them off, buying Eve just enough time to locate the Chancellor's car. She opened fire, forcing the Chancellor to step out. He tried to reason with her, saying she couldn't save Ella and that nothing would ever change. "You're a killer too. That's your destiny," he said. But Eve wasn't swayed. She shot the Chancellor, ending his reign. She then pulled Ella out of the car and ensured her safety. As Eve made her escape, the director contacted John Wick asking, "Is she dead?" John Wick's simple reply was, "He's dead."
He is dead.
In that moment, it was revealed that Daniel Pine, presumed dead, had actually survived and was reunited with his daughter. Eve finally arrived at the Hotel Continental, where she sat quietly watching a ballerina performance. News of her new $5 million bounty spread, and she quickly became one of the most wanted fugitives in the world. And with that, the movie ends. Let us know in the comments how you liked the explanation. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.